So, a couple days ago, I sat down and I watched one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. When I was younger, this was a serious turning point in my life, and even now, the movie is still a masterpiece, and it doesn't get the credit it deserves for being the literal foundation of Marvel. Die-hard Wanda fans, I'm looking directly at you. But the fight sequences, the character development from the first minute to the last, and the humor is so smooth, it's almost easy to miss. But to not ramble, the first Iron Man is peak fiction. But that being said, the minute he died, Marvel went with him. Not just his universe, but the multiverse basically fell apart the second he snapped his fingers. I'm gonna bring it back to Wanda. WandaVision happened 2 weeks after Tony died. She attended his funeral, then tore the fabric of reality the following week, which led to the multiverse. But to stay on track, Marvel's quality died when Iron Man did.
Get your spectral sock out, nerds. It's gonna get good.
So the Infinity Saga worked because it had a beginning, middle, and end. You start the franchise with the first Iron Man and end with Endgame. That's 11 years of storytelling. Not all of it was great, but for the most part, it was building towards something. If you sit down and watch the movies in order for the Infinity Saga, it feels like a payoff when you're done. In result, by the time we got Endgame, there was closure, Tony's story ended, Cap's story ended, and Black Widow got her painful send-off, which was unnecessary. The Infinity Stones were destroyed, Thanos was gone, and it felt like a finale, like finishing a really good book. But this is where our first problem starts. Marvel didn't treat it like the end of a book, they treated it like a commercial break.
I beg your pardon?
Instead of slowing down and actually thinking about what story was worth telling next, they just kept moving. But for a lot of people, myself included, Endgame was a natural finish line. After that, everything else felt like extra credit that was not needed or required, that nobody asked for. So after Endgame, Marvel developed a real problem. Nobody knew who the face of the MCU was anymore. For 11 years, you had Tony, Steve, and Thor leading the big events, and now it's just kind of a mess. But I wouldn't be good at what I do if I didn't point out that it wasn't always like this. The plan was pretty clear. Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther were supposed to be the next big three, but it didn't work out at all. Like everything bad that could have happened did. Spider-Man was and still is tied to Sony, which causes legal issues for Marvel, so they can't trust that he can be the face of the universe. Captain Marvel never really clicked with audiences. I personally don't mind her character, but that's not the case for every Marvel fan, so this one just didn't work out because people didn't care for it. I feel like if Marvel really wanted to though, this problem could have been fixed. And RIP to this absolute legend. We lost Chadwick Boseman in 2020, which completely shifted Black Panther, and although he did end up getting another movie, it wasn't really about the Black Panther that Marvel wanted to put as the face of their universe. So this all sounds real solid, but instead of a strong foundation, we got a consistent rotation of random characters headlining projects that didn't connect half the time. It feels less like a universe and more like scattered puzzle pieces, which makes me feel like Marvel's going through an identity crisis. Since Endgame, they haven't replaced the emotional core, and without that, the universe just feels directionless. But to cover all these mistakes up, Marvel leaned hard into the multiverse. On paper, it sounds interesting, with the endless possibilities, new versions of heroes, and fan service cameos, but in execution, it's been a mess. Loki teased a massive plot with Kang, then stalled. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was marketed like it was going to blow the doors off the MCU, and instead it felt like a cameo drive-thru. Even Quantumania, which was supposed to set up Kang as the new Thanos level threat, ended up being forgettable and ultimately their worst movie. The multiverse was supposed to be the next Infinity Saga level storyline, but it never found focus. Instead of building emotional arcs we care about, Marvel got caught up in bigger, louder, and flashier. The result of that was a lot of what they consider a good movie, but not a lot of substance. Compare that to the first Iron Man, which was more grounded and personal. The multiverse is the opposite. And real quick, on top of that, Marvel dumped way too much content on us too quick. When the Infinity Saga was still going on, you got maybe 2 or 3 movies a year you could keep, rewatch, and feel the hype build. But after Endgame, it felt like every month there was a new movie or show, sometimes both. And when you're pumping out that much, the quality drops. You can see this in the movies. The CGI started looking rushed, the writing got lazy, and the humor went from clever to corny real quick. It's just bad. All of it was just really bad. Instead of making every project feel like an event, Marvel turned them into homework. And once it feels like homework, people stop caring. I know I did. That's the whole universe for me. I miss what the early Marvel movies represented. Characters you could care about. In those first 3 phases, every movie felt like it mattered. Even when they weren't perfect, you still felt invested because the characters had arcs. Now it feels like Marvel's chasing a jaw-dropping moment instead of building heart. Without at least one phase to the universe, all the explosions and multiverse cameos and crossovers just don't hit for me. Marvel forgot people still showed up for characters first and not these special effects. So yeah, for me, Marvel hasn't delivered since Endgame, the Infinity Saga had closure, and the multiverse has been messy. The oversaturation killed the hype personally, and without the emotional core, all the CGI in the world isn't gonna save it. Marvel's golden age ended when Tony died. But maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe it ended because Marvel forgot to tell character-driven stories. But hey, that's just how I see it. What about you? Do you think Marvel can actually find its place again? Or are we way past their golden age with no way of getting back? Comment.
Too much pressure on me, and I ain't going to jail. Yo.